hope, pray that you all are having a blessed day today. It is May 20th today. And it's not we had a storm. We had a really bad thunderstorm today, overnight. And so it knocked out the power to about 75,000 people in the city, including us. And we didn't have power overnight. We lost power overnight. And as when I left this afternoon, there was still no power. So I'm waiting on them to restore the power. Yeah, so luckily we have a gas stove where I was able to cook something to eat because there was no microwave. So, yeah. But there's some interesting thing. I'm talking about the homelessness situation and how it is affecting the white population now. And there was a heartbreaking story that I saw about a 78-year-old white lady living in her car down in Florida. The reason why she's living in her car is because she says she cannot afford to find anywhere. She's in Pompano Beach, Florida, I believe. She couldn't find nowhere. She said she couldn't afford. She lives off Social Security, can't afford nowhere. She can't afford to find a place to stay. She can't afford to live off the Social Security. So she's been living in her car. And she uses a gym membership, that she has through her Medicaid to go and shower and take care of her hygiene needs. This is a 78-year-old woman, almost 80 years old, living in her car in Florida. Now, Florida and all these other cities throughout the country, including Kansas City, has all of these low-income senior housing apartment complexes and facilities around here. There's no excuse of why this lady is 78 years old, nearly 80 years old, and living in her car. I don't care if it is Florida. She should not be living in her car. There's no way. So anyway, there's the housing manager. I guess the news, somebody told her story to the news. And the housing manager in that city, black lady, is helping this lady find permanent housing. They got her in a hotel now because they said something about because of the weather and the storms and stuff, her car started leaking, so she could no longer live in her car. So now that's probably affecting her transportation too. So hopefully the housing manager is able to hook this lady up with resources in order to, find her a place to stay. I don't care what the color of your skin is. You should not be having to live in your car in this country, especially if we can house illegal migrants who break into this country illegally and are living here. What other country do you know you can go and break into and get welfare, get government benefits, qualify for government benefits? But yeah, we still got 78-year-old women, senior citizens, homeless seniors and veterans living in their cars, sleeping in their cars and in tents and stuff. But migrants are put up in 5-star hotels and given food stamps and free cell phones and things like that. It's sad. It really is sad. You see how backwards it is? That's why I don't want no parts of politics. No parts of it. But yeah, hopefully they give this woman the help that she needs. But because she's white, they're going to give her all the help she needs. Now, had that have been a black older woman, you think they would have been, I wonder would they would have helped her the way they're helping this woman. But I don't care what the color of your skin is. No 78-year-old senior citizen. Nobody should have to live in their car, especially the sick, the elderly, and the young, the children. This is why I told y'all I feel insulted when I see people on the streets begging with dogs. And people are willing to give food and shelter to a dog before they will a human being. That's a problem I think is going to, persist in this world as long as greed and the disproportionate distribution of wealth and finances and money continues. We're going to always have that problem. That's why Jesus said the poor you will always have among you, because greed and inequity will always exist until he comes back and makes everything right. Another story, weird story about these two girls. Two girls. Normally black people don't engage in the type of activities that these two different stories that I'm about to talk about engage in. Two black women. One story is about a black girl, or black woman. She's 27, just turned 28. Got stranded. She's from Georgia. got stranded during a solo hiking trip that she took in Fresno, California, where she went hiking on an electric bike in the snowy mountains in Fresno. Something happened to where she fell off that bike on the side of the mountain. So that probably, if she broke her legs, she injured her legs to where she could no longer ride that bike anymore. And just by the grace of God, in those mountains, they had reported her missing. She had been missing for 24 days, 3 weeks. 3 weeks and 3 days. And luckily there was a white couple who had a cabin up in there in those mountains. And the homeowner, the man, said he left that cabin open specifically because he knew that some hikers would go up there and might get stranded like this lady did. So by the grace of God, he left that cabin open, which it was noble of him to do, but that was kind of dumb of him to do because people could start squatting and going to his property and ruin his property. But he was thinking more about people than he was his property, bless his heart. And that was the reason why this lady's life was saved, because they said she told the news she lived off of boiled snow the whole 3 weeks that she was there. And you can tell this is a very white identified young lady. When I say white identified, I mean she's one of those black girls. They're one of those families, because her mother and father was, they're into camping and outdoor stuff like that too. So they're one of them black people, black families like, well, let's go on camping and, we're going to go out into the mountains and go hiking and camping. Those one of those type white identified families. And she went up there and got her butt stranded. And luckily they found her. She was stranded for 3 weeks and 3 days. Some people, some people just take chances with their lives like that. Stupid chances like that. But anyway, the second story is about, and they said her birthday, when they found her, they found her a day before her 28th birthday. So by the grace of God, he allowed her to live to see her 28th birthday. Second story is about these black girls on a boat in the Bahamas celebrating their graduation, high school graduation. They're young and dumb. Anyway, they didn't have no lifeboats or nothing, and one of them decided that she gonna front for TikTok, make a TikTok video, and she was walking back on the boat, taking a selfie, ended up falling off the boat, critically injuring herself. Luckily, they were able to pull her out of the boat. And they said when they pulled her out of the boat, her friend and some lady they had met on the boat, another passenger, that girl was full of blood, drenched in blood, because she had hurt herself, fell off that boat, almost killed her doing stuff, didn't have no life jacket or nothing on, trying to front for TikTok, making a TikTok video. Black people normally don't do stuff like that, but that's unusual. Yeah, but by the grace of God, both of these women's lives were spared. But just doing stupid, you take chances with your life doing stupid stuff like that, all that narcissist stuff, just to say that you did it and be able to go and put it on the internet and your social media just to show people that you did. Look what I did. Whatever. Stop playing with your life like that. Stop testing fate like that. Also, with the Diddy situation, now they're saying that Diddy tried to bribe, or did bribe, Cassie's mother. Cassie's mother testified that Diddy bribed her with, made her pay $20,000, take out a home equity loan to pay $20,000 to keep him from posting revenge porn of Cassie. That's not a good thing, Diddy. If you did that, that's going to hurt your case. Because I do remember that story where that mother called the police on Diddy because he tried to take Cassie's car and her phone. I do remember that story from years ago. So that's a true story. I remember reading that. That's not a good thing. But still, these are all domestic violence cases. This is a toxic couple situation. And I'm going to get back on that. My phone's about to run out. I don't have more video time. But I'm going to touch back on that, when I touch back on some more news later on. All right, y'all. Be blessed. Holler at y'all when I get back. Bye. I want to show y'all something, and this is real talk. This is real talk. And I don't care who get offended by it, but it's just an observation that I've been making for the past few years down here in the inner city in Kansas City, Missouri, with this gentrification thing. And I got a video, about an 8-minute long video on gentrification. These white folks came down here pretty much, and then they're gentrifying the entire city, the entire midtown area of Kansas City, Missouri. And they built these houses along. This is in the area by Truman Medical Center. These houses that they've built Only white folks live in these houses mainly because they're the only ones that can afford it. A lot of the white folks that moved out to the suburbs and now have returned to the city, only they can afford these houses that they've built down here. This is like 23rd, off of 23rd and Paseo. But another thing that I've noticed, y'all, is that even with the homeless population and begging, I've worked with this population for many years, on and off, in the shelters, in the rehabs and things like that. And I'm going to tell you, the one thing that I have noticed is that white people get way more sympathy, way more help, way more resources to them than African American people in the same situation. And another thing that I've noticed that I'm going to show y'all as I am driving, and I see this all the time, even with begging on the intersections and stuff like that, they have moved all the black beggars out. All you see now mainly at these intersections and by these highways and byways begging are white people. And the most offensive part about it, in my opinion, the most insulting and offensive part about it, that disturbs me to no end, is that a lot of them will be begging. They didn't push all the black beggars out. A lot of them will be begging. And when they're begging, they have a damn dog with them. A damn dog with them. Like this one right here. He's got a damn dog with him. And thinking that you're supposed to help feed him and his dog. Now, what makes you think that I'm going to give my money toward helping feed you and your dog? If you're supposed to be in a destitute situation, you ain't supposed to be sitting there begging for no dog. I will put my money toward helping another human being before I help a dog. That is so offensive to me. But you know why they do it? They do it because they know other white people care more about a dog than they do a black person. So yes, that's why they have that dog, because they know white people love dogs. And some black people, they have taken on that characteristic too, or that mentality too. They love dogs more than they do human beings, and they will help a dog, a homeless dog. They'll help feed a homeless animal, a cat or a dog or a homeless animal, before they will a homeless African American person. That's the honest to God truth. And so that offends me to no end, that not only have they gentrified this inner city with all these houses and stuff that no black person really can afford. So mainly they are living in these areas now because they pushed the African Americans out. But now, not only that, they have also, they got all these nice houses over here. That's the one way I can't go down that way. Yeah, they got all these nice houses they done built over here. And they done, gutted out a lot of the older houses and remodeled them and rebuilt them. All these houses down there, they done took them over, honey. They call it the Beacon Hill area. And they've taken over. They've taken over all these houses. These houses. Most of these houses are white people that took them. This used to be hardcore African American, black, all of this, until they came in and gentrified it and rebuilt and priced all the black people, poor black people, out of the city. And that's happening in cities all over the country. They built these houses. And these houses start at these houses got to be like 350,000 starting off, asking price. Probably more than that now. And if you are black and you try to get in one of these houses, they'll probably more than likely discriminate against you and try to not sell it to you. They'll sell it to, like this person, that's a white person. They'll try to sell it to a white person and not in the hood now. They're discriminating against you. They don't want no black people living over here. They have completely gentrified this area that used to be predominantly black. But like I said, not only in that economic area, and not only in that economic area, they have also, even among the homeless population and the poor population, they have even dominated that to where now they are they have pushed all the, you rarely now see black people on these places begging now. You mainly see them with this dog. You like this man right here with this damn dog. You mainly see him. Now he thinks you're supposed to help feed him and that dog. He's sitting here with this dog. Now why the fuck would I help? I'm sorry, excuse my language. Why would I help feed a dog over another human being? Huh? That's just, ooh, it's so insulting to me. Having a pet is a luxury. If you're homeless and you're destitute and you're on to the point that you are begging for money, panhandling, you give that pet up, or you let that pet run, let that pet go and fend for itself, because it could feed itself better than you can out here in the world. But you out here with this dog because you want to play, but he's playing on the sympathy of other white people, because other white people will feel even more sorry for him. He believes, and more likely true, other white people will feel more sorry for him with that dog with him than they will for a single black person that's destitute and begging on this intersection. That's just the way this world is. They have priority over everything. That's just the reality. Even in homelessness and begging, at all levels, they have better everything. They have priority over everything. They're privileged for everything over a person of color, especially a black person. So that's just an observation that I've been making over the years, and that really insults me. Sometimes I see them. Sometimes I see them with two dogs. I saw one woman laying in the grass by the highway begging with two dogs. She laying with the two dogs begging for money, and I'm like, why? What the hell make you think that I would help feed a dog before I would a human being if I have the money? That's why a lot of times I don't. No, I don't care what color you are. If you in need, you're in need. But them type of people, I'm not giving you no money to help feed you and your dog. I'm sorry. I'm just not. Take that pet to a pet shelter, or let that pet, give it to somebody that can feed it and provide for it, or let that pet run free and somewhere, take it to an area and release it or something where, no, wild dog shouldn't be running around in the hood, but still. That dog can fend for itself because it's a scavenger. It can take care of itself better than they can. But they're sitting there expecting people to give them money, to help them take care of themselves and feed this dog, feed their dogs, their pets. Not gonna happen. Not with me, it's not. I'll feed another human being before I will another dog. People are struggling themselves and they expect people to help feed them and their pets. Come on now. God said you're supposed to be generous and give whenever you can, but I'm not about to help feed nobody who feels entitled enough to and emboldened enough to sit and beg for themselves and their dog. No. And then people are like, well, they need them for emotional support and companionship. No. You don't need an animal for no emotional support and companionship. That's just your mind tricking you and convincing you that you need that. All you need is the Lord Jesus Christ to help you through your hard times. You don't need no dog or no cat. That's all in your mind. That's a demonic deception. So you get them dogs off the street. If you really are destitute and in need, you don't sit up and be begging for yourself and your dog. Because I'm not going to feed a dog before I will another human being. Ugh. All right, y'all. I'll be back with the news in a little bit. I don't care who take offense to that. You can be offended all you want. No, but at the same time, I am very astute on. That's not the word I want. I'm very what do they call it? Inquisitive. What is the word I'm trying to intuitive. I'm very intuitive about a lot of the things that around me, and I just noticed that I don't care what level it is in any situation, whether it is at the highest level of government, royalty, all the way down to the lowest level of poverty, and hunger. White people feel entitled to have priority and privilege and preference over everybody else in the world. That's the whole world is white supremacist, not just America. That's just the way this world is. And that's why the Bible says the last shall be first and the first shall be last, because all these people that are so used to having a position of power and privilege over everybody else, including the poorest population in the world, they are going to, and the world is changing. The world is changing because they are now losing their place, and that is the white person's biggest fear, is that they're losing their place in society, and they feel like they're losing their position of being the dominant majority people. They have this fear, constant fear of losing their place in the world, and a lot of this has to do with the fact that they are so entitled to receiving everything better and more superior over everybody else, and also because they're scared of retribution and reaping what they sow. They scared that if they are ever in a subservient or subordinate or minority position, that now this person's black, he's black, but most of the people, I'm telling y'all, that are begging on these corners now, light is green, are white people. They have pushed all of the black people off. They are the ones begging now. Now I'm up here on 31st Street in Midtown, and it looks like there's a couple of black men on this one, but you go out in Independence, Missouri, and you go out to, a lot of the suburbs and stuff, they're out there, white folks begging with dogs and stuff. A lot of them, like I said, they know that their own kind will feel more sympathy for an able-bodied animal than they would a handicapped black person in a wheelchair begging, because their white supremacist mentality just doesn't make them feel that African Americans in any way, shape, or form deserve the type of compassion and empathy that even an animal is afforded. That's that white supremacist, racist mentality that has been ingrained in them from the time that they were born. They're entitled to everything, even with jobs and job situations. And this is based on my own experience. And in business, like when you have your own business or whatever, if you are black and you have your own transportation company or contract, and white people know that you are working for yourself, you don't even have to be working for yourself. If they see that you are content with what you're doing, some of them will stop at nothing. They will move hell and earth to make sure that you are out of that position, that is taken away from you, because they just don't feel that you are entitled to ever have no job that you are content with or happy with, or that you are making any type of real money with. They feel that they should have that. They are so entitled. There's another one. They are so entitled in their mind that they feel that they're entitled to that. And now these foreigners come over here with that mentality, like with the driving jobs and stuff. These foreigners, they dominate it, and they see now, if they see an American in one of them positions, like DoorDash or something like the foreigners like to do, because they love to earn money under the table that they don't have to be taxed on or nothing, so they love them type of jobs. And they see they see an American doing what they feel that they should be doing now. Even foreigners come over here with that entitlement. They feel like you should not be there. That should be for them, because most of them come over here and they take those type of jobs where they're getting paid under the table. A lot of them are undocumented. A lot of them take on them illegal Uber. They take on them somebody else. They use somebody else's Uber account to make money, or their driving account or whatever to make money. That's something that's happening now too, and a lot of crimes are being committed. A lot of those foreigners that's using those accounts, other people's accounts, they're committing crimes with those accounts. So there's another one. Surprised he ain't got a dog with him. There's another one begging. They done pushed all the black beggars out. All the black people have been pushed out. Now all you mainly see is white folks begging at these intersections. And like I said, a lot of them have dogs. Have the nerve to have dogs with them. Because the world is shifting, the world is changing. And they are no longer going to be in a position of power. Their fears are correct, because they're not going to continue to be in a dominant position over everybody in this world. Because God is going to put a stop to that because of the major injustices that they've done to people all over the world. That's not going to continue. And it's changing. And I can see that shift right now. Here just in Kansas City, I can see that change and that shift, because I see so many of them in such destitute positions that they align themselves with black people now. They associate and try to cleave to black people now, because they feel like black people have the ability to help them survive through difficult situations, because we have always had the ability to survive through the most difficult situations, and because they can't handle it. Like when they lose, they cannot handle that. A lot of them, they go crazy. They can't handle it. But black people, we have always been, that's all we've had. We cling to our Jesus and our church and our God to get us through these times, these difficult times. And that's why when these times arise and we have to face them, we can make it through better than anybody else, because we've had no choice but to do it all throughout history, all throughout human history. So, yeah, there has been a dramatic shift in American society. Like I said, gentrification, they've moved back into the hood. White folks, they've moved back into the hood because of the gas prices and things like that. Because, at first, back in the early 2000s, they moved back. The reverse white flight took place. They moved back into the hood because of gas prices. Because they worked in downtown and in the areas in the city. And they didn't want to have to spend the money for the rising gas prices to commute back and forth from their job to the suburbs. So they started moving back to the inner city. And then now with this gentrification, because they have lost their jobs, they've lost a lot of them have lost income, like where the husband and the wife both had good cushy jobs. Well, one of them may have got laid off, or both of them may have got laid off. So they can't afford to live out in them suburbs no more. So now they're moving back into the hood. A lot of them are moving into low-income housing. A lot of them have Section 8. That's why they're talking about next year. Donald Trump is talking about wiping out Section 8. That's not going to happen, because too many white landlords and property owners and too many poor white people depend on Section 8 for their survival. So that's not going to happen. Donald Trump has a large MAGA Republican base that depends on government assistance. So that is not going to happen. I do not see that happening. Now, if it does, you talking about a revolt. You talking about a civil war. If he cuts out Section 8, them white folks are going to go ape crap crazy. They are going to lose it if he does that. Trust me. Because too many of them depend on that. Whether they have some, it used to be when I used to work at the Housing Authority a long time ago, in the late 90s. A lot of them were slumlords, and all they had to do is batch up their house, maybe bribe an inspector or something, and get their raggedy property in the inner city put on Section 8 that shouldn't have passed inspection in the first place. And a lot of them used to get $700 a month rent for some crap that no human was really fit to live in, but they expected poor black people to live in it. they live out in the suburbs. They living off the Section 8 money. A lot of them have 3 and 4 houses and properties and stuff. A lot of these white people, they have their parents and stuff left them properties and stuff. This is when I was, working for that program. And they put it on the Section 8 program because they know all they have to do is batch it up a little bit, go prove ownership, and get a government check to house a poor black family. But they themselves wouldn't live in those houses because they were unfit to live in, for real. But the crooked inspector would let it pass housing quality standards if they just bribe them, slip them a little money, slip them 100 or something like that. And that's how they would get their money. And a lot of times they'd use those Section 8 checks to pay for those houses if they take out loans and stuff on those houses, or if they have taken out loans to buy those houses, those properties. Section 8 pays for it and buys it for them. But now that the script is flipped, and a lot of them rely on Section 8 now. When I was working in the drug rehab, that's all they talk about. Well, I'm waiting to get my Section 8 voucher. I'm waiting to get my housing. And, there's not enough resources now. Black people are really, we're going to have to be like the Hispanics and the Asians and get together and be more unified and communal, because these white people are struggling now. And when they start struggling, honey, they're going to start taking what little crumbs that we have, that they trickle down to us. Now the white people are going to snatch, they're going to snatch those crumbs. So where you have, it's going to get so bad to where white people are going to start working at McDonald's. Where these Hispanics are now working at McDonald's and stuff, it's going to get so bad to where when AI takes over their jobs, when AI takes over a lot of their jobs, they're going to push them Hispanics out of them jobs and working in the hotels and working at McDonald's and stuff, and even the CNA jobs and stuff like that. They're going to start pushing the blacks and the Hispanics out of those jobs and taking those jobs themselves, because AI is about to replace all of those jobs. That's going to happen, y'all. It's going to happen. So get ready for it now. Hopefully we don't be here for that. Hopefully, that happens during this tribulation period, because they're talking about, how, I was watching a video today about how people pay for everything with their phone. All you got to do is put your phone in there, tap it, and it pays for whatever you need. Honey, that's all coming. That whole digital currency, all of that mark of the beast system is all fast approaching. And this is why people are going to be so destitute. The Bible says it's going to be a day's wages for one meal. It's going to cost a day's wages for a meal to feed yourself. So there's going to be so many destitute white folks too. And they're going to start taking those jobs that they normally would not take and feel that they're too good to have and take, that only white, poor blacks and Hispanics take, like the hotel jobs and the CNAs and the doing the lawn. And doing the lawn is pretty lucrative. White boys, they've been doing that. But just them lowly jobs that poor blacks and Hispanics normally have, like the hotel maids and the McDonald's and the CNAs and stuff like that, child care workers, it's going to be white people taking those jobs, because they are going to be forced out of their jobs by AI and government downsizing and corporate relocation abroad and stuff like that. They're not going to have those jobs anymore, so they're going to come after the... Let me show y'all something too with that. All these areas down here where we used to stay at in the Jazz District and stuff like that. I can't turn this around. I can't turn this camera around while it's recording. But in this area down here in the Jazz District where I lived for many years, down here on 18th Street, has been completely taken over. Been completely gentrified. Well, no, not yet. But it's slowly being gentrified, because a one-bedroom apartment down here now, it's like, they tell me it's like $1,400. $1,400 for one bedroom. And not only that, down here, when you live down here, you have limited parking down here, because they be having all kind of events and stuff down here. Let me stop and I'm gonna turn it around so y'all can see where I am now. I'm at the Greg Center, and this little ballpark right here, they be having all kind of games and stuff down here, ball games and stuff down here. Completely gentrified. I mean, you still got black folks down here, but they're slowly pushing them out. This here, they're slowly pushing the black people out. This here is the Black Archives. That's the Black Archives right here. It used to be over across the street in this other building. Look at that. That's the Black Coffee Cafe, gift shop, a Heritage Mall. There's the Black Archives. That's the Black Archives in America. But you know what? Like I said, all of this is slowly being taken over by white folks. And they're pushing all of the poor and middle class African Americans out of the neighborhoods. There is an apartment complex over here. It used to be it's a co-op, like row house apartment complex called Parade Park. And it used to be predominantly African American. It was a black apartment complex. Oh man, can I get out of here? Oh man, this is do not enter. It used to be Parade Park used to be a black co-op where the people owned their condominiums, or what they call them, condos now, but they're like row houses or whatever. And people used to own. Oh God, I got all this trash out in front of there. Jazz District. I used to live in these apartments, Jazz District, not in. Good evening, everybody. I'm back. Okay, so I've been kind of trying to catch up with the news. Some more news lately now. Walmart is facing a boycott because Trump has told Walmart, put the pressure on Walmart to eat the tariffs. They keep saying Walmart need to go ahead, and Trump told Walmart they need to go ahead and eat the tariffs. Walmart told Trump that they're going to have to raise prices and pass it on to the consumer with these tariffs. And so Trump has been putting the pressure on Walmart, and now Trump supporters are calling on a nationwide boycott of Walmart because they're going to raise prices due to the tariffs. So Walmart is damned if they do and damned if they don't, because last month Walmart faced a boycott from the DEI customers. The DEI, so-called DEI hires called on a boycott of Walmart because they caved into the pressure from the Trump administration to drop their DEI policies and programs. So they faced a boycott back a month or two ago. Now, damned if they do, damned if they don't. Now they are facing a nationwide boycott from the MAGA base because they're going to raise prices due to Trump's tariffs, and they're not listening to Trump when Trump told them to eat those tariffs and do not raise the prices. So Walmart is going to take a hit either way it goes, but that's going to affect us ultimately. It's going to affect the public ultimately when that happens. What else? What else is going on? Something else. Oh, the inmates that escaped from the New Orleans jail. They're saying it's looking more like an inside job, and they've apprehended 4 out of the 10 inmates. They said 10 or 11. It's 10 or 11 inmates escaped from that jail, and they're saying it was an inside job, and they've only apprehended 4. By the grace of God, the governor or the police chief was saying that nobody has been hurt because you got 4. You only caught 4. There are still 10. I mean, there were 10 total that got away, 10 or 11. Only 4 have been captured. There are still 6 inmates, escaped inmates at large. Now imagine if this starts happening all over the country. All kind of hell is going to break loose. Don't be surprised if this don't start happening all over the country, that these inmates start busting out of jail. Some of these staff members help them. I don't be surprised if that don't start happening. What else happened? What else happened today? Oh, Elon Musk. There's a reason why Elon Musk has bowed out of politics, because the Russian spy agency, according to the news, has told Elon Musk that he need to mind his business. They said they targeted Elon Musk with drugs and sex in order to make him stop meddling in world politics. See, these people don't care when it comes to Russia. See, that's the difference between that's what Trump and Musk does not realize. They don't care how much money you got. In politics, it's a whole different ball game. You are swimming in the ocean with orcas when you are messing in the political arena. There's Burger King. Okay, so they targeted Elon Musk with drugs and sex because they know that that's his weakness. That ketamine in women is Elon Musk's weakness. And so they've contained Elon Musk and told him to stay in his lane and stay out of world politics because he had got to the point that he thought his money was going to buy him a place in politics, in the political arena. No, it don't work that way because business and politics are two different lanes. Now, you may have, been dealing with sharks in the business world, but in world politics and world leaders, you are swimming in the ocean with orcas. That's what I say. You are swimming with orcas. And orcas eat sharks every day, all day. So, yeah, that's what they did. But I'm at Burger King, y'all. And I'm about to order me something to eat. So.
Welcome to Burger King. Are you roll? What can I get started for you today?
Hello, dear. Give me a second. Let me look over the menu right quick. Okay, you know what? Give me this King Jr. meal with the double cheeseburger.
I'm sorry?
The King Jr. meal with the double cheeseburger.
All right, and then what was your drink?
Pib or Dr. Pepper?
Dr. Pepper?
Yes.
All right. And then what else can I get for you?
And that's it. That's it.
All right.
Okay.
$5.91 at that middle window, please.
So anyway, yeah, finally getting some Burger King. I forget the bacon because I had bacon for breakfast today with eggs. But yeah, that's what's happening now. They told Elon Musk to stay his behind out of politics, and hey, when they target you, honey, I don't care if you're the richest man in the world. You can be the president. You can be, I don't care who it is. They can target the Pope if they want to. Because he's just, you know what? When they get ready to hem you up, ain't nothing you can do about it. You can be the most powerful person in the world. When they get ready to ensnare you and trap you up and target you and take you down, that's what they're going to do. And they're not going to stop until they do it. So that's why Elon Musk, that explains why Elon Musk then backed off of Doge and went back to his lane. Because when he started trying to meddle in that world politics, they was like, "Oh no, buddy, you about to get swallowed up out here." Swallowed. Yeah. Speaking of that, man, that Diddy trial is getting even more wild now. It's getting even more wild with the mother now. She's testified, and like I said in an earlier video, she's saying that they had to take out a $20,000 equity loan on their home because she said Diddy allegedly extorted her, or extorted Cassie, and said that he wanted $20,000 in order to not release some revenge porn video of Cassie in a freak off, and said the mother said they had to take out, her and her husband had to take out an equity loan to pay Diddy to not do that. Now that's wrong. And how in the heck Cassie been with him all that time and didn't have $20,000? Hello. Thank you. How's she been with him all that time and didn't even have $20,000? I don't get that. I don't get it. What kind of game? She has no game whatsoever. She has no game whatsoever. If she didn't have $20,000 and you've been with this man, this multi-millionaire man worth hundreds of millions of dollars, almost billionaire status, and you didn't have $20,000. But then again, that do further explain that, Puffy probably was using his money and his power to try to, make her not leave him. And so that's what that was about too. But still, where does the RICO? There is no RICO involved with this. It's a toxic, it's a toxic domestic violence relationship that went on way longer than it should have. Probably should have never began in the first place. But no, it should have never began in the first place because she was like almost 20 years younger than him. But anyway, that was no love involved in that relationship at all. It was all toxicity, mutual usury, and so there. But that, I'm gonna tell y'all what that is. That whole situation with what's going on with them is just God using their situation as an example to show people that you think you want to be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you chase after, because the devil will give it to you just how you want it. The devil's job is to give you exactly what it is you want. And that's what he did in this situation. He gave them exactly what they wanted. And now the devil has pretty much destroyed both of their lives. Puffy and Cassie's lives have been destroyed. And not only their lives, but the lives of their families, especially their children. Lives have been completely destroyed. That ain't nothing but the devil's doing. She was chasing after fame and fortune. He was trying to maintain his fame and fortune, and he used his fame and fortune to get, whatever he wanted. But that still is not a RICO. He just seen that young, innocent girl. He wanted her for his own sexual pleasures and passion. And what kind of toy do I have here? This is a rabbit. What type of rabbit is this? It's a rabbit in a pink dress. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. That's what that is. All of this is being shown to us, and God is providing us an example of this case, with this Diddy case, to teach people that you got to be careful you got to be careful what you wish for or what you go after, because the devil is afoot, and he's going to always, the devil's looking for who he can kill, steal, and destroy. And when he sees that you are chasing after fame and fortune and money and things like that, the Bible says those who look to get rich and seek to get rich pierce their lives with many sorrows. And that's just what they did. You pierce yourself with many sorrows chasing after money. And so you gotta be very careful with that, y'all. It's okay to want to be successful and have achievements and things like that, but selfish ambition can destroy you. And like I said, this situation, this Diddy case has destroyed Cassie and Diddy's family. And this is just the third week. Ain't no telling who else's name is going to be brought up into this, and it's going to further destroy more reputations as it goes on. And we still don't know, if Diddy's going to be found guilty or if he's going to be acquitted. We hoping that a lot of us are hoping that he gets acquitted, because we know that this is just a railroad job, that this man has been railroaded. He was in a very toxic, exploitative relationship with Cassie. He did exploit her, he did use her, but she did the same thing. It was a mutual exploitation and usury relationship. It's very toxic, but it was not RICO, racketeering, influence, corrupt organization. None of that. It is not that at all. A bunch of sexual deviants in a toxic relationship, prostitution and all that other stuff, but it's not no racketeering, RICO type. It doesn't rise to that level, in my opinion. So that's the reason why, they overcharged him. And it's just a railroad job. If he gets any time from this, even if they just give him 5 years, for the drugs or something, that would be more appropriate. But giving this man 15, 20 years for this type of stuff, no, that's a total railroad job. So I'm hoping for him to get acquitted. Let's read it. I'm hoping for him to be found not guilty. But, all right, y'all. That's the only thing I can think of. Let me get on out of here. I think I done got off at the wrong exit. But as far as with the war and stuff like that, a lot of people don't watch that. They more worried about stuff on TV and sports and entertainment and stuff, and they're not paying attention to what's going on with this war. But y'all better keep watching. Watch with this Pope situation. I keep telling y'all, Vance is buddying up with that Pope, but they had him take him a Chicago Bears jersey with his name on it and stuff, and went and greeted him, and now talking about they want to see him at the White House. They about to align that Pope. They about to get that Pope involved in world politics. Watch. The Pope, he makes comments about politics, and he critiques some of the policies, but no, they're about to get this Pope to get full-on involved in world politics. So pay attention to that. Other than that, I think that's about everything. I also made a video about the gentrification of Atlanta. Atlanta used to be one of the blackest cities in the country. And I think it was Willie D or somebody made a video about how Atlanta is no longer a black city. Yeah. Atlanta is probably like 66% black now. Maybe 60% black due to gentrification. That's what's happening. All over America, that's happening though. So it was a good little segment that I think it was Willie D did on Atlanta no longer being a black city. They said Washington D.C. is really gentrified too now. I didn't know that. They even saying Memphis, but yes, that is so true. The last time I was in Memphis, and you know, you walk down Beale Street and you visit all the historical places like the Stax Museum and Beale Street and places like that, completely whitewashed. Completely whitewashed. Just like the Jazz District down here in Kansas City. It's slowly being commercialized and whitewashed. When white folks start moving in and trying to, you know, take over the culture and be a part of it, it loses its authenticity. And that's what's happening. But I do, I'm not against gentrification, but I am against displacing people from their neighborhoods and displacing businesses from their neighborhood and stuff like that. I'm against that. Now, I do like diversity. I value diversity, but not at the expense of poor people and my community, minority communities, black community. Not at our expense. Because people should be able to live wherever they want to live, but not being priced out of their homes and priced out of their neighborhoods that they grew up in and invested in and are familiar with and comfortable with. And the way gentrification works is that they come in and they just kind of, they either raise the taxes on the people to where they can't afford, on the rents and the taxes, property taxes on the people to where they can no longer afford to live in the neighborhood. Or they just come into the neighborhood and make it so, they just change the whole nature of the neighborhood until they make it so uncomfortable for the residents that live there to remain there, and they force them out. So that's how gentrification works. And again, like I said, that's happening in major African American cities all over the country. Washington D.C., Memphis, Kansas City, St. Louis. Now they're saying Atlanta. It's happening all over. So, me personally, I don't want to live in the big city. They can have the inner city. They can have, all of that. I want to do the opposite. I want to live in a southern city, not on the water, out on the outskirts of the city, maybe like 20, 30 minutes away from the city. I don't want to live in the city no more. I lived in the city my whole life. I've lived in cities, in Detroit, in Kansas City, my whole life. I've traveled all over the country and stayed in cities for weeks at a time. I do not like city life anymore. I don't like the noise. I don't like the overcrowdedness. I don't like the constant sirens and bullets and gunshots and dogs barking and all that. I don't like none of that stuff. So I prefer to be in a quiet place, outside of the city now. I'm too old now for all this ruckus that's be going on, all the riffraff. I'm too old for that. So, but yeah, as days go by and time, the economy collapses and, the decaying of morals in society, you are going to think, you're going to realize that living in a city is not all that it's cracked up to be, because things are going to get worse. So, all right. It's getting dark. It's time for me to go and get in the house. So I will see y'all later. Lord willing, God granted, I will do number 96 tomorrow, but this is 96. This is 96. I will do 97 tomorrow or the next day. But I'm going to upload, this is 96, End Time News Reports number 96. I will upload this tonight. Probably won't hit my YouTube until later on tonight. And so I will see you guys then. Until then, be blessed. And I just cannot stop saying this and encouraging people enough that if you are not baptized, blood washed, and born again in the name of Jesus Christ, who is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, please do so now. I strongly encourage you before the rapture, before the tribulation. Do it before the rapture so you can avoid the tribulation that is going to happen pretty soon, because everything is rapidly falling into place. And I know a lot of people are not going to believe it, as in the days of Noah that the Bible says. But, that's why you got people like me and other people on YouTube that are warning people like Noah was warning people, and they was laughing at Noah and said Noah was crazy and he was a drunk. Don't believe him. And they didn't believe him until it started raining. By that time, that ship had sailed. So don't let the ship sail on you. So all we can do is just warn you and tell you and encourage you. And if you have been saved and baptized and repented of your sins and accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, ask the Lord to deliver and save your unsaved loved ones. So I'm going to end it on that. I will see you guys, like I said, if nothing happened, Lord willing, God granted, tomorrow for episode number 97. Peace, God bless. See, I keep forgetting, they also have the Midland down here. They got the Midland down here, right there. Then they got the convention center. They got the convention center right across there. Then they got that, let me take this thing off. Then they got the Lowe's. Then they got the Lowe's Hotel. They got T-Mobile over here. They got the Midland over there. Then they got the convention center. And this is another one, B&B Main Street. I ain't even been down there. Jazz and social dance. See, they like to be down here so they can be dancing and eating and drinking and doing all kind of stuff before they get up and work.
Willie D. Live.
What's up, family? A new report from the National Community Reinvestment Coalition shows Atlanta had the second highest number of neighborhoods flipped from majority black to majority white from 1980 to 2020. Gentrification led to the displacement of an estimated 22,000 black residents in Atlanta, with neighborhoods like Old Fourth Ward, East Atlanta, and Kirkwood among the most affected. Atlanta experienced the most intense gentrification in the U.S. from 2000 to 2012, driven by rising incomes, home values, and educational attainment in urban neighborhoods. Educational attainment in urban neighborhoods. Isn't that what they tell us we need? And they say that's the problem, is kids are not being educated, but now that we have educational attainment, they want to run the people out. And they want to take this back. Interesting how that works. Anyway, guess what city had the highest rate of majority black flipped to majority white neighborhoods? Ding, 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 ding. You guessed it. DC. Man. Boy, they did it to Chocolate City. DC was the first chocolate city. DC, man. DC. And now Atlanta. Family, Atlanta, man, I love y'all, man, but let's keep it a buck. Y'all did it to yourselves. You did it to yourselves, man, with all that flexing, I'm talking about, like buying just the cars and the homes, getting the cribs, not really attaining land, you know what I'm saying? Because he who controls the land controls the man. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you this too, fam. The politicians sold them out because the politicians saw this coming a mile away. The politicians are the gatekeepers for every city. And before gentrification ever takes place, the politician has to clear the way for it to happen. Before those taxes rise, the politicians have to clear the way. They strategically will neglect buildings, abandoned buildings, the streets and things of that nature. Try to force the property value down, down, down. Then when they get ready to make their move for gentrification, they go in and they do a land grab, sweep up everything, try to buy up everything for cheap, right? And then turn around and then try to sell it back to the people at a premium price. That's the gentrification game. Get in there and buy it cheap. And oftentimes, the politicians will make it to whereas all you gotta do is have some type of foundation or something, and they'll give you the land for $1. They'll give you, they'll give you acres of land, for $1. And then you come around, you scoop it up under the whole church umbrella or whatever foundation. And now you bought the land from the city for $1, and now you put a price tag on it for $1 million. The people that's been living in the neighborhood, paying a modest rent, $800 a month, $900 a month, $700, $1,200, they can't afford it because now the rent is doubled. They putting up three-story townhomes and 5-story apartment complexes and things and high rises. They can't afford it. So, see, the politicians cut deals with the businessmen. That's what they do. Everybody divvy up, what they want. Everybody gets something out of it. They all go to the table to get something out of it. And then they say, break. Then they go over here and do what they got to do. They go over there and do what they got to do. They go over there and do what they got to do. And then you will see the people be displaced systematically. All that money in Atlanta, all them rich black people in Atlanta, they could have easily put Atlanta on lock for the next 500 years. Could have put it on lock with nobody. Well, they controlled the whole thing. But it's too many cats out there that want to flex. Salute to Jeezy, salute to T.I., salute to, the guys that I know, Killer Mike, that's out there buying stuff and building, that own property. They own property in really, really good areas of Atlanta, like downtown Atlanta and Buckhead. They got them dudes, they buying up stuff. But it's so many more dudes out there that got money. And if they could have all just formed a coalition to just buy, when I say not buy the block, buy the city, they got it. They got that money out there, man. They can buy the whole thing up, and this is really depressing to me, fam. I'm really disappointed because now it's gonna take forever to try to, reverse this thing. It'll take forever. And now the political power, there's going to be a shift in political power. Yeah. They're going to try to go in there and redline all kinds of stuff. They're going to try to rezone. They're going to have a little pocket over here of people, and they're going to try to make their vote as powerful as, let's say, it may not be but 150 residents over here or 500 residents. And they're going to try to make their vote as powerful as, 50,000 residents in the city. You say, well, how is that possible? They can do it, fam. They can do it. They can take that pen, man, and draw up everything they want. Anything they want. Yeah, it's a cold game, fam. It's a cold game. I remember going to Atlanta, and man, it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful to be in Atlanta, to see black folks networking and getting it, everybody getting it. Like you go over here to this guy's restaurant, he give you a card, 2 or 3 cards to his homeboys who got the tire shop over here, got a wheel shop over here, this guy here got the barber shop, this guy got do real estate, this guy over here sell cars, this guy make clothes, this guy owned the club. The networking was ridiculous. I mean, and I was contemplating moving to Atlanta. At the very least, give me a spot out there. And then the shift came. Then you started having different people moving into Atlanta. And the violence and the crime went up. And quite frankly, fam, it's been all downhill from there. I mean, Atlanta is still Atlanta. It's still a lot of opportunity there for black folks. Don't get me wrong. And quite frankly, more opportunity in Atlanta than most places, right? But I like the idea of Atlanta having it all, having a lock on all of it. Because that's how it is in certain cities that you go to. It's people out there who are gatekeepers. They ain't letting nobody in. They ain't letting you get nothing. They're not letting you buy a lot, an acre, a building, nothing. I digress, fam. Hey, it was fun while it lasted. No more talk.
That large police presence comes as we've learned that fourth inmate was captured in New Orleans East tonight.
That's right. WDSU reporter Jasmine Franklin is live tonight with more. And Jasmine, you spoke with people who witnessed this arrest. Tell us about it.
Gina, people who live in the area where the arrest happened say they were really just shocked and surprised to see the state police and SWAT teams right outside of their homes as 21-year-old Gary Price was taken back into custody.
It is a little jarring to know that it was so close to home.
Romel Smith says he has lived on Good Drive in New Orleans East for 6 years. He was shocked to see a large police presence right outside his home Monday evening.
I literally just saw something outside of my door. It was quiet when they came in, so I stepped outside and my neighbors across the street, they were out, and we were just like, what's going on?
Multiple law enforcement agencies assisting in taking inmate Gary Price back into custody. This video showing the moments the 21-year-old was captured in New Orleans East after being on the run for 4 days.
This is one of those situations where I would say was an absolute benefit. The coordinated efforts between the state and of course the city.
Price is now the fourth inmate found after escaping from the Orleans Justice Center Friday. Multiple escapees still remain at large as hundreds of law enforcement personnel continue to search the area.
You could see, 5, maybe 6 on the footage.
Dale Corcoran is manager at Bierman Precision. The tool shop sits along I-10 in the area where several inmates ran Friday morning.
Never in my farthest, dreams or nightmares would I have ever envisioned somebody running across the interstate from the prison like that, no.
He tells me employees are using extra caution, knowing some of the inmates escaped near his business.
It's just been, one of those things where you kind of have to just be more vigilant, and if you see something, say something.
And neighbors say they are confident police will find the remaining escapees.
I anticipate that they're going to find them all over the city. It doesn't really, they go where their family is.
And state police tell us hundreds of law enforcement personnel will continue working around the clock until they find the remaining escapees. Reporting live in New Orleans, Jasmine Franklin, WDSU News.
And 21-year-old Gary Price, he was captured on Prentice Avenue and Good Drive in New Orleans East. This is the second inmate to be captured in that area. So far, all 4 who were captured have been found in New Orleans within the city limits. And so far, these 6 inmates remain at large. Derek Groves, Jermaine Donald, Corey Boyd, Leo Tate, Lenton Van Buren, and Antoine Massey. If you have any information that can help police or help detectives, please visit WDSU.com or call Crime Stoppers.
New here at 10 o'clock, a startling number of South Florida senior citizens are experiencing homelessness.
One woman was brave enough to share her story in hopes of helping others find their voice. Night Team's Heather Walker has tonight's 7 Investigates.
Carolyn's clothes hang neatly in the back seat of her car.
I'm a neat freak.
And are organized in the trunk.
This is my dry cleaning my silks, which I can't afford right now.
Dry cleaning is the least of her concerns for this 78-year-old. She's been living in her car for nearly 2 months because she can't afford a place to live.
I look at it as a journey. I've had many journeys in my life.
Money is tight because her only income is Social Security. She's sold many of her possessions over the last few years, but she still doesn't have enough money. We spoke with her here in a well-lit parking lot in North Broward, where she spends time doing word puzzles.
Where it has the large letters for people like me.
And sleeping, sitting up.
Since I've been here, I sleep here in this seat, squinched down. My ankles and legs are swollen from having to sit all the time. I buy jug water, it's cheaper. And I eat 1 meal a day for $2.02, and then I get a free senior drink.
She gets free gym memberships as part of her Medicare plan.
I do go shower and do my makeup and my hair.
Very brave. Very brave.
Cassandra Rett, the Housing and Social Services Manager for the city of Pompano Beach, is trying to find Carolyn a place to live.
She was my godsend.
It could be my aunt.
it could be my mother. And it just breaks my heart just how humble Carolyn is.
Cassandra says she is seeing more and more seniors in need. Support services for them are at capacity.
As you know, the rent is skyrocketed. That's the main factor of why these seniors are on the street, is because they cannot afford the rent.
Ron Book, chairman of Miami-Dade Homeless Trust, says homeless seniors are incredibly vulnerable.
We know if you put vulnerable elderly on the street, they're going to die earlier.
Take a look at this trend. In 2019, people ages 65 and older made up nearly 8% of the homeless population in Miami-Dade County. By 2024, that number almost doubled to 14% and is projected to reach 22% by 2030.
The face of homelessness has changed. And I want people in our community to think about their mothers and their grandmothers and their grandfathers being homeless for the first time.
It can happen to anyone. Don't think it can't, because I never thought about it.
Carolyn has not lost her sense of humor despite living in her 22-year-old car.
That's my baby. She's falling apart like me.
She hopes speaking out about something so personal might help others.
Other people may need somebody to be their spokesperson, because this is the only thing I ever felt ashamed of in my life. And I truly felt ashamed. But this is the right thing to do.
Just in the last few days, Carolyn's situation has changed. With the recent heavy rain, her car started to leak. Cassandra says the city put her up in this hotel for now, but she's working to get Carolyn a permanent place to live. Heather Walker, 7 News.
To do better by our elders, for sure.
Quite the story.
This is ABC 30 Action News, live at 5.
A story of perseverance, determination, and survival. Tonight we hear from Tiffany Slayton for the first time. She's the Georgia woman who was found safe after missing in the Fresno County mountains for 3 weeks. She embarked on a solo camping trip in the Sierra on April 14th when things eventually took a terrible turn and she lost cell connection and GPS. And thanks for joining us tonight for Action News Live at 5. I'm Warren Armstrong.
And I'm Vanessa Vasconcelos in for Graciela Moreno. Her family reported her missing on April 29th, and after a days-long manhunt, Slayton was found safe Wednesday inside of a cabin near Lake Edison.
Action News reporter Brisa Colon has more about Tiffany Slayton's remarkable story of survival and the touching reunion with her parents. Brisa?
Warren and Vanessa, Tiffany was just trying to enjoy a vacation, she says, when things took a turn for the worse and she fell off the side of a mountain. Now she's crediting her safety tonight to her ability to think quickly as well as forage and maintain her composure. Battered, bruised, alive. 28-year-old Tiffany Slayton survived 30 days alone in Fresno County's Sierra Nevada mountains, wearing a bright green dress wrapped in a blanket and with sunglasses shading her injured eyes from days of walking in the snow. Slayton is now out of the hospital and recounting her vacation turned near-death experience.
I was coming to try and do a camping trip, so I had 2 sleeping bags and a basic tent. But at the end, after fighting nature for such a long time, I lost my tent, I lost my vestibule, and I did eventually lose both sleeping bags. So I was outside with nothing but a lighter and a knife.
Slayton embarked on a solo camping trip back on April 14th to visit the Mono Hot Springs. On her electric bike, she navigated through the Shaver and Huntington Lake areas. At one point, she stopped to talk to passerbys, but her journey took a tragic turn when she took a significant fall off a mountain.
When I fell off of this cliff, I was unconscious for about 2 hours and did indeed have to splint one of my legs and pop the other knee back into place.
Injured, she began to fend for herself. After about 5 days, she ran out of food. But her athletic and healthcare background kicked into high gear, able to forage and survive on leeks and boiled snow.
I'm a traveling dialysis technician and an archery coach by trade. I didn't want to panic. In the first 5 days, I was still ready for my vacation.
Her family reported her missing on April 29th, sparking a manhunt that spanned nearly 600 square miles. Alone and in the midst of a blizzard, worn-out Slayton stumbled upon a shelter.
When I first came across it, it was a pristine Christmas tree and a tiny house, and it had markers like Santa's sleigh, and I could not understand. I actually thought I was losing my mind.
That shelter was Vermilion Valley Resort. Owner Christopher Gutierrez keeps the doors unlocked in case of moments just like these.
Without Vermilion Resort, I would not be here at that moment, because that was the 13th heavy snowstorm I had been in, and it was going to be the last one.
2 thumbs up and a smile found the day before her birthday. Hand in hand, her parents Fredrina and Bobby flew in from Georgia to be by her side. They were inside a Goodwill shopping for snow clothes, preparing to come to California when they received that faithful phone call.
So I asked her, okay, so who is this? And she says, it's me, Dad. I'm sorry. I'm not dead. That was the best feeling. That was the best gift that I could have ever gotten.
This is just the best community of people that I have ever met, and I just want to say I'm grateful and thank you, God, for everything.
Slayton tells us this journey restored her belief in humanity.
Make sure to pass on your goodwill. It takes a lot in order to survive a negative situation, and it doesn't take very much to be positive.
Through it all, she never lost her hope or her sense of humor.
I may never do a real vacation longer than 3 days ever again.
And truly remarkable story. Tiffany tells me that this entire ordeal has changed her outlook on life, and she plans to dedicate the rest of her life to the medical field and giving back. In downtown Fresno, Brisa Colon, ABC 30 Action News.
5, a graduation celebration trip turned tragic for one Memphis family. Their 22-year-old daughter, Hannah Smith, fell from an excursion boat during a trip to the Bahamas. WREG's April Thompson talked with Hannah's parents, who are holding on to their faith that she will recover as the community rallies in support.
It was a day full of pride, May 3rd, when 22-year-old Hannah Smith, an Overton High School graduate from Memphis, walked across the Miles College graduation stage as summa cum laude for her communications degree. Tracy Smith and Marvin Smith are Hannah's parents.
We all met at the graduation, all, cheered and screamed her name as she walked across the stage. And then she also had a Delta performance right after the graduation, which was amazing. And she did incredible with that.
The next stop was a celebration cruise to the Bahamas with her childhood friend, Brooklyn. But that trip would turn tragic during an excursion to a private island Monday.
Right now, we're in Nassau, Bahamas, not Bahamas, and we're on a boat going to a private island.
Brooklyn told us what happened as they were on the excursion boat headed back to the ship.
I heard the splash and I instantly looked, and when she first went into the water, she just made the face like somebody fell, like I'm in the water, but she didn't look distraught. And then she disappeared for about 3 seconds, and I didn't see her. I didn't know what happened. And then she came back up and she reached out her hand and she was like, "Get me." And me and another woman we had met on the cruise ship that was on the excursion with us, we pulled her out, and then there was like a lot of blood in the water.
Hannah had fallen off the excursion boat.
She went into the water, and the boat propeller came in contact with her,
injuring Hannah's lower extremities.
She hit something when she went down or got sucked into something, and there was a lot of damage. The doctors at Doctors Hospital in Bahamas, they saved her life.
Tracy rushed to get a flight to be with her daughter.
They prepared us in saying she was critical, and they couldn't guarantee that she was going to make it because she lost so much blood.
Hannah had 2 surgeries in the Bahamas and was able to be brought back to the States Wednesday, but she has more surgeries ahead this week.
She's going to need these surgeries and she's going to need therapy. She's still critical, but April, I will tell you today. Every day we've been praying and we've been inhabiting the prayers that we've been getting.
Her family now by her side and a growing list of supporters from her school, sorority, and friends, offering prayers and blood donations to help Hannah through what her parents say will be a long journey.
If people could share the GoFundMe link, because we're looking at, the quality of life that she can have for the rest of her life. And we don't want to let this accident define, her life.
Reporting for your news leader, April Thompson, WREG News Channel 3.
We are all pulling for Hannah, and for the GoFundMe link to support Hannah Smith, just go to this story on our website, WREG.com.
And now to a revelation from a former FBI agent. Special Agent Jonathan Boomer has alleged that Russia's intelligence agency, the GRU, targeted Elon Musk by exploiting the billionaire's alleged weakness for sex, drugs, and a lavish lifestyle. Now, according to reports, the operation involved attempts to influence tech CEOs to gather compromising information allegedly approved by Russian President Vladimir Putin himself.
Musk's susceptibility to promiscuous women and drug use, especially ketamine, were seen by Russian intelligence as an opportunity for an agent to exploit.
The former FBI agent claims that Musk's liking for the desert rave event Burning Man, adult entertainment, and gambling were seen by Russian security agents as a possible access point to the tech billionaire. Moreover, the alleged operation extended to venture capitalist and PayPal founder Peter Thiel. The GRU, known for its aggressive and clandestine global operations, is one of the most powerful arms of Russia's intelligence agency. And envoys from the agency allegedly offered both Musk and Thiel direct contact with President Putin.
The envoys sent to contact Musk and Thiel offered direct contact with Putin. They would not have done so if Putin had not personally known about the action and approved it.
Now, reports suggest that Elon Musk has been in direct contact with Putin since at least 2022, with discussions ranging from personal matters to geopolitical issues. In fact, one alleged request by the Russian leader was for Musk to not activate his Starlink satellite internet service over Taiwan as a favor to Chinese President and Putin ally Xi Jinping. Meanwhile, the Tesla and SpaceX CEO stance on Ukraine has also evolved over time. In 2022, he reportedly offered his Starlink satellite service free to the Ukrainian armed forces, but later threatened to pull back the support. And by last year, he'd become increasingly critical of Kyiv as he aligned himself with U.S. President Donald Trump. Now, earlier this year, Musk suggested that Ukraine must hold elections, claiming that President Volodymyr Zelensky would lose. However, the claims of the Russian intelligence agency targeting Elon Musk emerged as the tech billionaire's popularity and business profits have declined amid his involvement in the Trump administration. Now, last month, Musk signaled that he would be stepping back from his role as the chair of DOGE to fully focus on his company, Tesla. But despite this, President Trump said that the tech billionaire could stay in the administration for as long as he wanted.
Really been a tremendous help. He opened up a lot of eyes as to what could be done. And we just want to thank you very much. And, you're invited to stay as long as you want.
So with Russia's spy agency accused of targeting tech billionaires, the focus now shifts to just how deep does the influence go and what it means for U.S. security in the years to come.
At First Post, we are choosing to hold on to accuracy. That means we won't always be first. We may not get you your breaking alert. But what you will get is what we owe you. And that is the truth. Verified, checked, and cross-checked. We rely on sources and verified ones. After all, that's what separates a journalist from a loudspeaker. But sometimes even we miss a beat. And when we do, we will tell you. Like yesterday, we ran visuals from a registered news agency. That visual turned out to be fake. So we are taking accountability. And from now on, we will cite the source of every visual. Every picture, every video that you see on First Post will have a source mentioned. That is our commitment to you. We will wait, we will verify, we will ask again, and only then will we tell you. No noise, no panic, just the facts. Because right now, that is what the country needs most.
This is from the President Donald Trump on social media, talking about this as the conditions for what will be negotiated between the parties as it can only be, because they know details of a negotiation that nobody else would be aware of. So plenty to get into in terms of this conversation between these two world leaders, between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Zelensky. Let's bring it into, Russian President Vladimir Putin. Let's bring in the conversation right now, Vice Chair of America First Policy, former NSC Chief of Staff Fred Fleitz. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. And you heard there that it is a negotiation between Russia and Ukraine, and it feels like the United States may be taking a step back. Is the U.S. going to be less involved, you think, moving forward with this, what they're calling immediate negotiations?
Well, Winston Churchill once said it's better to jaw than war. It's good when parties in a war are talking. That's the beginning. I think that this was a productive discussion between Trump and Putin. And I think Trump is trying to use his personal relationship with Putin and arranging support from other European leaders to try to encourage Putin to do the right thing and agree to a ceasefire. And what we got today was an agreement by Putin to work on a memo for a path to ending this war. And both states are supposed to work on this. And I think Trump is going to hold him to that, but he's not going to wait too long. If Putin does not carry through, I think there will be crippling U.S. sanctions.
Yeah, and this feels like a step, albeit, however, a small step it might be with them being on the phone call for 2 hours. But we've seen potential conversations about this before. And as we heard from President Trump talking about those conditions, as the conditions for Russia are very different for Ukraine. In terms of that, do you think this is a positive step forward, that these two might actually come to the table?
I think so. When there was talk about conditions that Ukraine might not be able to accept, now what might they be? Well, Putin's going to say no NATO membership. That's not possible anyway. Hungary will veto it as a member of NATO. Ukraine has to recognize Russia controlling Crimea. Look, Ukraine's not going to get Crimea back. So I think that can be finessed in a way. Maybe Ukraine will simply stop military operations to retake it. I think we can work through most of these issues, but Putin has to see that there's a better future for him and his people by doing business with the U.S., doing business with Donald Trump. That was the focus of this call today.
Yeah, he said it was quite frank, very informative when he was meeting with media there in Russia. But also President Trump, during a question and answer with reporters inside of the Oval Office, said it was somewhat of a coin flip, a 50-50, what the conversation with Putin would be like in terms of if he wanted it all versus the other way. Is that something that you also view could have happened today? Is maybe the fact that this is landing on this side of the coin beneficial as a positive sign?
I think what came out is positive. I want to see Putin carry through on what he agreed to today, because we know he hasn't been carrying through. But look, peacemaking is hard, and resolving conflicts is complicated. Typically can take months or years. Trump's only been president about 4 months now. So it isn't a surprise this wasn't immediately solved, and that this is taking a lot of work to solve.
Yeah, and I want to ask you, because also the venue was brought up for these potential negotiations being in the Vatican, and we've all covered the Pope, the newly elected Pope Leo as well. In terms of that, is that interesting to you? Is that beneficial to one side or the other, or is it just a matter of them coming together, the best part?
I think Putin looks at all the global events, the recent Pope's funeral, the Pope recently becoming Pope, the event in Saudi Arabia. I think Putin feels left out. And to make this a momentous event between the U.S. president, the Russian president, the Ukrainian president, that will encourage a major deal. That's what I'm hoping, that we, look, we can argue that Putin doesn't deserve this because it started the war. We are where we are. We have to use what we have to get this war ended.
Yeah, that is a very good point. I also want to ask you about potential comments from the White House, from Vice President J.D. Vance, calling it an impasse. The White House, before this call, saying they're frustrated with Putin. They also teased, President Trump did, the fact that there are big egos involved and there's a possibility that they back away. What would it take for the United States to pull back, to be less involved in this conflict, albeit with money, not boots on the ground? What would it take for the U.S. to be less involved?
Well, I think it's up to Putin. If he doesn't abide by this agreement, I think there will be crippling sanctions. I think that will mean financial sanctions, sanctions on Russian banks, sanctions on the Russian energy sector, intercepting the so-called ghost fleet that transports Russian oil, confiscation of Russian assets abroad. They will be very, very painful. But look, the purpose of these sanctions wouldn't simply be to punish Russia. It would be to encourage it to come back to the bargaining table and make a deal to end the war.
Yeah, and he said he pushed that off a little bit, saying, ask me in a couple of weeks. That was what President Trump said as well. But if the United States does take a step back, they do see this impasse and they take and remove themselves from the conversation, isn't that a win for Russia?
I don't think it's fair to say we've been removed from the conversation. Our people will be working this process behind the scenes, talking to both sides. But the negotiations will be between the parties to the dispute. We've been working and trying to negotiate a solution, and Trump has decided that, look, these two states, they know what they want. They should be talking directly.
All right, that's very good. I do want to ask you, because as we talk to different experts in the national security field about comments made from Putin, very different from some of the actions, as we've seen attacks by Russia on Ukraine as early as this morning. We also saw on social media President Trump during a previous ceasefire somewhat negotiation telling him to stop, that being Vladimir Putin as well. Do the words still not line up with the actions coming from Russia in your eyes?
I think that's fair. It seems that Putin makes agreements to Trump on the phone and in meeting with American representatives. Then he simply doesn't honor his word. He doesn't keep his agreements. He doesn't honor ceasefires, even ceasefires he's promoted. So I think there is a bit of a gap between what Putin is promising and then how he delivers.
And do you think, because we almost had a meeting between Zelensky and Putin last week in Turkey, we saw Secretary of State Marco Rubio there in attendance for that, although there were some members of the delegation from Russia in attendance for that. Do you think there could be a meeting between Trump and Putin in the near future? Do you think that would benefit this conflict and potentially having this, what they're calling a bloodbath, come to an end?
I think Putin wants that, and it's something that Trump can give away that I don't think we'd be conceding very much. It would give him a little bit of international stature, but if that's what it takes to get Putin to make this agreement, I think Trump should do it. And if there's going to be a meeting like that, there's going to have to be progress in the ceasefire memo between Russia and Ukraine, and then I think the White House will talk about when Putin and Trump will meet.
Do you think that's a political strategy, a bargaining chip of sorts that President Trump and his advisors are weighing in terms of this?
Yes, and when you talk about meetings like this, usually there's work done at the working level where each side realizes what needs to be done in advance before each leader will agree to come. So the White House is going to make the Russians agree to certain things before Trump would agree to meet with Putin.
All right, very good. Fred Fleitz, thank you so much for joining us. Anything else that we're maybe missing that you want to note before I let you go?
Well, I tell you, the world is just crazy right now, but this is the issue we're all looking at. I think this is a productive call. It was the right thing for our president to do, and let's just keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, obviously, like we mentioned before, a step forward is a good step nonetheless. All right, Fred, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, your insight here on Live Now.
Good to be here.
Donald Trump expressed optimism following his morning of diplomatic outreach on the war in Ukraine. He says immediate, direct peace talks will begin between Russia and Ukraine. The Vatican may act as mediator.
We just spent 2.5 hours talking to Vladimir Putin, and I think some progress has been made. It's a terrible situation going on over there. We also spoke to the heads of most of the European nations, and we're trying to get that whole thing wrapped up.
For his part, Vladimir Putin also praised the momentum toward peace.
We agreed with the U.S. president that Russia will suggest and is ready to work with the Ukrainian side on a memorandum on a possible future peace treaty, which defines a number of issues, such as the principles of settlement, the terms of a possible peace agreement, and so on, including a possible ceasefire for a certain period of time.
The Ukrainian leader, though, whom Trump also spoke to, expressed his skepticism.
I'm not sure that Russia is ready, and we don't trust them, and that's why we want wanted from them very much ceasefire at the first step.
European leaders said they were united with Donald Trump, even though Trump is not calling for an immediate unconditional ceasefire as they had requested, but talks toward a ceasefire. We will closely support Ukraine on its path toward a ceasefire, the German Chancellor wrote. Europe will increase pressure on Moscow through sanctions. We agreed this with the President of the United States after his conversation with Putin. Ahead of his phone calls, the White House press secretary said Donald Trump was weary and frustrated with both sides in the conflict. And J.D. Vance, the vice president, said the U.S. was prepared to walk away if peace seemed unlikely. It remains to be seen just how engaged the U.S. will remain now in these direct talks between Ukraine and Russia toward a ceasefire. Shia Bertansi, Al Jazeera, the White House.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.
Here's some remarkable news. The FDA clears the first blood test to diagnose Alzheimer's disease, and a showdown is shaping up against President Trump and Walmart over tariffs. Jane King is at the New York Stock Exchange with those stories and more in today's Morning Business Reports.
Good morning. President Trump is calling on Walmart to absorb the tariffs rather than raise prices. Walmart CEO Doug McMillon said last week that some prices could rise because of tariffs imposed by the Trump administration. Other well-known brands have signaled that the White House's tariff campaign could increase prices, disrupt supply chains, and frustrate consumers that are already dealing with inflation. Adidas and McDonald's, among others, have indicated the trade war could affect their businesses. Well, the U.S. was downgraded by Moody's ratings thanks to government debt that's approaching $37 trillion. Moody's lowered the U.S. credit score, joining Fitch and S&P Global ratings. The one-notch cut comes more than a year after Moody's changed its outlook on the U.S. rating to negative. And the downgrade comes after a winning week on Wall Street. Investors cheered the White House's deal with China to temporarily slash tariffs. The Nasdaq led the way higher, surging 7%. Well, U.S. regulators have approved the first blood test to help diagnose Alzheimer's disease, potentially making it easier to find and treat patients. It is designed for the early detection of amyloid, a protein that can build up in the brain and is a hallmark of Alzheimer's, the most common form of dementia in the elderly. It was cleared for people 55 years and older who exhibit signs and symptoms of the disease. And Ace Hardware is giving away 1 million free American flags on Saturday, May 24th. They're working with the veterans of foreign wars to distribute the flags while supplies last, allowing customers to proudly display their support over the Memorial holiday weekend. From the New York Stock Exchange, I'm Jane King with your Morning Business Report.